Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the November 28th meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Physical quorum of members is present. I'll entertain a motion to permit Patty Guston to members that are not physically present due to physical illness or disability, employment purposes, or for the business of the board or family or other emergency to participate by video or teleconference. So I had a motion by Michael Childress, member Childress, did you? And a second by member Krajewski. All in favor? Okay, welcome member Guston, and can we have a roll call?
Thank you.
Member Cahill. Member Chaplin.
Here,
Member Childress.
Yes.
Member Covert. Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans. Member Galassi. Member Garcia.
Here.
Member Guston.
Here.
Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Shorzy. Member Tornator. Member Yu.
Here.
Member Zag.
Okay, we have a quorum. Do we have any public comment this morning? Okay, thank you. We move on to item 4, Chairwoman's remarks. I just hope everyone had a nice holiday. And I'd also like to thank Wendy Wagner for all her help and support during our Finance Committee meetings. You've been great support helping us with all this technology, especially through the pandemic and everything. So good luck, and we're going to miss you. So with that, can I have a motion on the approval of the minutes, 233740 from November 14th, 2023? I have a motion by member Childress, a second by member Krajewski. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move to item 6, budget transfers. Can I have a motion on FIR 027923? Budget transfers 11/28/2023. Motion by member Rutledge, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to procurement requisitions, and I'll call on member Krajewski.
You, Madam Chair, I move on 23-3757, which is a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Foster and Foster for actuarial services.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIP 0025-23, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to ODP Business Solutions for the purchase of office supplies for various county departments.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, unless I move on FIP 0026-23, which is a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Amazon Capital Services for the purchase of office supplies and miscellaneous items for various county departments.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Galassi. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIP 0027-23, which is a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Federal Express to provide express mail services for various county departments.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Galassi. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to animal services, and member Krajewski.
Thanks, Madam Chair. On this first item, 7B1, I have to move to discharge Animal Services Committee. I'll move for discharge.
Have a motion by member Krajewski and a second by member Garcia to discharge committee. All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. I'll move on 23-3747, DuPage County Animal Services Donor Recognition and Memorial Policy.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Cahill. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And last, I'll move on 7B2, which is AS-CO 0002-23, which is the First Amendment to Resolution ASP 0165-22 issued to RWE Design Bill to provide professional construction management services on an at-risk basis for animal services facility.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we get some explanation? This is a pretty big increase.
You know, changing the scope of work to have security, surveillance camera, vehicle charging stations, new transformer, electrical services, replace the existing roof. Seems like stuff that should have been picked up the first time. I mean, did we build something without electricity or, you know, security cameras? I mean, it seems like a pretty poor job by the engineering firm initially. There's got to be some kind of explanation.
I
for a
think
huge
Laura,
magnitude.
Laura's on the line.
Laura, do you want to go ahead? Is she on?
I wouldn't be on either. But,
She's in combo.
No.
I mean, also,
She said she texted me that she's on the phone because she can't get through on Zoom. She's on vacation now, but she's
I'm,
out of the country.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, so a lot of this is electrical, and part of the reason it was not in scope during the first set of bidding was we were doing a lot of site coordination with the 140 building project. Now that that project has changed, a lot of this is just solely falling on us to bring in this new electrical line, making some changes to our generator. Another big part of our increase was replacing the existing roof. It's not just for becoming solar ready, but we thought we had another 5 to 7 years left on that roof, but we've been getting a fair amount of leaks. We've had some roofers out there doing repairs. And if we're going to be putting this new addition on and doing significant renovation to the existing building, we then added scope to look at replacing the existing roof, which is about 25 years old right now. And if we were going to be replacing that roof, we thought it would probably be prudent to also make it solar ready. We don't have the funding at this time to put solar panels on, but we'd like to make sure that it's ready for the future. Another part of that was not in scope when we did our original bid was the addition of that space that we're calling the real life room. When we went out for bid, we did not have that in the plans, but if you recall, we got that $4.5 million anonymous donation. And one of the requests by that donor was to add this real life room, which, you know, was a gift that we really appreciated and was donated to make this project move forward. And that donor was not even asking for a name on the building. They just said, we want to make sure that this is part of the project. So that was another large piece of this.
okay, so basically the decision's been made to move away from the 140 building now. So that wasn't really given in the presentation when we were talking about moving transportation. So this is an additional amount that the county's gonna have to pay for. I mean, I would assume there's enough infrastructure if we get rid of the 140 building to be able to maintain animal control. And will you have to close down now? I mean, is there gonna be a contingency for this? If you have to redo the roof, will there be a shutdown at some point that we'll have to then figure out what to do with the animals? And
We have Nick and.
Yeah, so I think they can answer the question about the 140, but operationally, the goal is to move into the new addition once that's completed. And then that way we're not having to displace too many animals. And then once the renovation is done, we'll move back into the full space.
Yeah, as far as sequencing, Laura is exactly correct. We won't relocate the animals off site. We'll just move them to the new area while we redo the old building. As far as the electrical, obviously it's an aging infrastructure coming into that building. We knew that we were going to have to replace it, but originally we were going to be what they term to as daisy chain off of one building to another. Now it's got to be standalone. And so we always knew we had to do electrical improvements there, but with no improvements leading to the new DOT building, Animal Services is responsible for all of those electrical upgrades. And that's the big difference that we have.
okay, so basically we're moving that building no matter what, the transportation building.
Well, that was part of the presentation, is that it's not big enough to house the needs of transportation there.
Okay.
Whether this doesn't preclude us from doing it, but Animal Services has to move forward with getting the reliable electrical. That's why you see the generator. That's why you get the electrical feeds. We're making it a standalone, so it's ready to go no matter what decision's made.
Okay. Well, I just thought with a big change like this, they did a great presentation of the new building. We would get some kind of presentation that would show us what has changed, you know, for $2.5 million on top of that. But okay, thank you. And it's good to hear that we don't have to close down.
Thank you, member, Zay. I do have member Desart and then member Desart, go ahead. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that I actually, as Animal Services Vice Chair, I actually really appreciate the fact that they've added in a roof. So they're not coming in, 5 years later, with their hands out again, asking for more. I also wanted to mention, Laura mentioned this briefly, but that major donor who gave us a ton of money did not ask for naming rights. All they asked, because they truly love animals, is this real life room. And I don't know if anybody not on the Animal Services Committee knows what that is, but when there are animals who are stressed or not comfortable in a cage environment, they can take them to this real set up, a living room where the animals can feel like they're at home, whether it be cats or dogs or whatever. But I just think that's an amazing ask on the part of this major donor. So this real life room came on after Animal Services made their presentation, and I think it's a very unique and creative, wonderful ask. Thank you.
Thank you, member Desart. Member Krajewski.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Just the main three things were, as Dawn just pointed out. The second was the electrical, which because of this DOT building, and then the third one was the roof. Those are the three major components of why it went up. DuPage Animal Friends, which is helping to raise money, is getting ready to start the big fundraising campaign. The first one we just voted on was the policy and the recognition. So they've finally, I know we didn't really have one here at the county, so it took the state's attorneys a little while to put that in place, but now we have the naming ability and how much that costs and all the policy behind it. And DuPage Animal Friends has brought on a professional fundraiser to help with the campaign. So the goal will be to raise this $2.5 million that this increase is through the foundation. So they're going to kick that off, and they have a big gala coming up next April. But they're going to be starting now that the policy's in place, looking to raise this money privately to help fund the cost of this.
Great, thank you. I have member Desart and then member Rutledge.
Sorry, Brian, you touched on it after I raised my hand. I did forget to mention that we need a huge buy-in from this board for the Animal Services Gala, which is Friday, April 12th. And I hope you all write that down and commit to attending our gala. That will be a fundraiser for several $100,000 to pay for some of these improvements. Thank you. Again, that's Friday, April 12th, the Animal Services Gala. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Rutledge?
I'm in full support of a new roof on the existing building because you cannot put solar on a 25-year-old building. And we have seen that there are private citizens that will fund solar installations at our county complex. So let's make sure that we don't make that impossible to happen.
Thank you, member Rutledge. Member Zay?
Yeah, just one last question. Fees over at the animal control. When's the last time that rabies tags have been increased?
Does anybody know that?
I'm gonna guess 2017.
It was 2017. Yes, this is Laura. We do have in our current budget some fee proposals. Rabies tags are not quite one of them, but we know that those will be in our future.
Well, I mean, everything else has increased. I mean, we've had, 7% inflation. I would think a small increase would be needed at this point. 2017's, 7 years ago. It's kind of I would think to do your part just to raise an additional funds for this. I mean, that would help.
Yeah, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can take this, Laura, but
Okay.
Chairman Krajewski's pushing that, put that on a future agenda. I pushed a little bit last year, but when Laura did the kind of fee comparison, in 2017, the board decided to go an extra $1 than what we had originally anticipated. As a result, it kind of put us towards the higher end of the tier with our surrounding communities. But I was trying to push that last year. However, we're still a little bit on the high side, but that's coming up. It will be on a committee in the future here. But and the question, I know Member Cahill's been pushing that also, but we are going to be looking to put an increase in, whether it's $1 or $2. And just because of what Member Zay said too, we haven't raised it since 17. And if you go to one of these vets, you'll come out with a $500 bill, and we're finding the vets are actually charging more than what our fee is too. But that is coming in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
And I know, Member Rutledge loves solar, but I mean, I think the major being an American manufacturer, very little solar is made in the United States. Most of it's made in China. So I guess we're helping that country enough by bringing in solar all the time. I mean, again, the buyback on solar is not that great, even though we're getting small donations. I mean, it's a lot of years buyback to make that money back. So, I don't think, we see that everybody was talking about electric vehicles and they kind of get a pass for transportation, but now we're seeing that the major auto dealers are starting to claw back a little bit on that because there's not the demand for them that they thought there was going to be. So, but again, we just can't say, well, we're going to change everything for additional money just because for future solar. I mean, again, there's got to be some kind of benefit for having that solar on there.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Desart.
Thank you. I just, at our last Animal Services Committee meeting, members say, Laura estimated that solar will cost $200,000 with the infrastructure being an additional $50,000. And we hope to make that up during the gala. Thank you.
Well, now you're up to.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Member Krajewski. We move on to Development, Member Tornatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd ask that item 7C1 be pulled from the agenda for the Finance Committee as well as County Board.
Okay, thank you. We will note that. We move on to Economic Development and Member LaPlante. Thank you, Member Tornatore.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I move to approve item 7D1 EDCO 0006-23, amendment to County Contract 6160-1 serve issued to Dell Marketing LP to add 50 enterprise mobility and security EMS licenses for the Workforce Development Division and increase the contract amount $19,292.11 for a new contract amount of $70,318.40, a 37.81% increase.
Motion by Member LaPlante, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member LaPlante.
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve item EDP 0003-23, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order issued to Comcast Business Services to provide internet connectivity for the Workforce Development Division for the 3-year period of December 1st, 23 through November 30th, 26, for a total contract amount of $39,238.20 per 55 Illinois CS 55-1022 competitive bids, not suitable for competitive bidding.
Motion by Member LaPlante, second by Member Yu. Member Zay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could somebody explain to me why internet service is not competitively bid? I mean, I know it's that new wild thing out there, the internet, but I mean, I'm sure besides Comcast, there's other companies. I mean, I looked at the purchase order from Comcast. I mean, it's Ethernet. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, good morning. We typically take advantage of the state's contract, which is competitively bid by the state.
It does, well, then it should say it's part of a state bidding thing. It shouldn't say it's not competitive. I mean, I do purchasing for a living. I just think we just go to this. I think this is a crutch for us. We just go, we don't actually do our homework and check both out. I think we just go with these state contracts and stay, oh yeah, here's what it is. And that's what we go with. I mean,
We actually do take a look at the different pricing from time to time, but we can, next time these things come up, we can take a look at it again to see if we need to competitively bid out. Typically, the state and some existing share contracts have already been bidded out. They're competitive, and those are the best prices that typically the companies of that size will offer to any organization. So it's usually pretty competitive, but members, we can sit down and actually go through it if you like.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Krajewski.
Thank you.
I had the same question as Member Zay. Asked the state's attorney, but I mean, we're saying this is not suitable for competitive bid. I mean, it seems to me it is suitable for competitive bid. And
I think I need a little more information. Did Anthony seem to insinuate they got it from a co-op and perhaps the blurb itself is wrong? Is that
well,
accurate?
just because the co-op went out for competitive bid, I mean, one, that makes it is something for competitive bid because they did go out for competitive bid. And on a state contract, we could do something locally and have a better bid, maybe, I don't know.
Right, so co-ops are always allowed, whether it's through an intergovernmental agreement with a federal co-op or whether it's under the state statutes. We can use Illinois' co-op, so completely legitimate at any time, but obviously the county board does always have an option to bid. And I know our procurement department often will compare the prices, and Mr. McPherson made that
That's absolutely
reference
true.
as well, but legally either is okay.
So is it just that maybe it shouldn't say not for competitive bid, it should say purchase under a co-op?
Let me be clear so that I wasn't clear. I was speaking generally because most of our contracts, when it deals with internet services, most of those contracts, we use the same purchasing vehicle for those contracts. I wasn't speaking specifically to this one. And maybe Valerie directly.
Actually, some locations and communities only allow us to use one vendor. This was one of those, I believe, was Comcast in that area for them. Yeah, so I mean, we've gone out for bid on Comcast, AT&T in the past, but on this particular building, they have Comcast, so it was not suitable. We did look at the state contract as well.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Are you okay with the answers? So,
Well, I think it just, I mean, if that's the issue, then this could be easily taken care of in the decision memo that, you know, that Lyle only allows and this building only allows Comcast.
mhm.
And that's why it wasn't bid. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that would save, you know, a little blurb like that would help us.
I would definitely check with the department on that in the future.
Aren't they moving, didn't they, even Lyle, I think, are they going somewhere else? WorkNet
I do not know.
or work? The lease is through 2026?
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Member LaPlante. We move on to Human Services and Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on item 233743, HSP 51A23, amendment to resolution HSP 5123, issued to Performance Food Service for secondary food supplies and chemicals for the DuPage Care Center for the period March 1st, 23 through February 29th of 24 to increase encumbrance in the amount of $20,000 at 27.45 increase.
Motion by Member Schwarzy, second by Member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I move on item HSP 8823, awarding resolution to WellSky Corporation for the renewal of the Homeless Management Information System software and cloud services contract, renewal of licenses, training, support, and custom programming for community services for a contract total amount of $43,720.48.
Motion by Member Schwarzy, second by Member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I move on item HSP 8923, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Airgas USA LLC to furnish and deliver liquid portable oxygen for the residents at the DuPage Care Center for the period December 1st, 23 through November 30th of 24 for a contract total amount not to exceed $48,000.
A motion by Member Schwarzy, second by Member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I move on item HSP 9023, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Accelerated Care Plus for leasing physical therapy equipment for the period January 1st of 24 through December 31st of 27 for the amount not to exceed $35,859.36.
I had a motion by Member Schwarzy, second by Member Yu, and discussion. Member Yu.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just have the quick question of, I understand this is for a lease of 35,000 for 3 years, and I'm just wondering, is it more cost effective to purchase the mobility equipment, considering I think this is a fuel source item as well?
Okay, we have Valerie coming up. Thank you, Valerie.
No, it's not more cost effectively. Mainly inside the lease is all the equipment plus the services that they do provide, and they come out 24/7.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I move on HSR 6923, approval of issuance of payments by DuPage County to energy assistance providers through the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, HHS Grant Plan Year 24, in the amount of $2,408,901.
Motion by member Schwartz, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, member Schwartz. We move on to judicial public safety, and I have member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move on JPSCO 000923, amendment to purchase order 28. Amendment to the purchase order issued to Journal Technologies, Inc. for an increase of $75,482 for monthly storage costs for electronic evidence and data and cost to build an interface between Jail Tracker and Case Management System for the Public Defender's Office for a new contract total amount of $831,557.
And a motion by member Evans, second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPSP 006923, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Krista M. Winters of the law firm of Antonioli, Cerny and Winters PC to provide professional services as a conflict attorney assigned to juvenile cases for the period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2024 for a contract total amount not to exceed $42,000.
Motion by member Evans, second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPSP 007023, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to William G. Warbeck, attorney at law, to provide professional services as a conflict attorney for the 18th Judicial Circuit Court for the period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2024 for a contract total amount not to exceed $47,400.
Motion by member Evans, second by member Yu. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPSP 007123, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to the DuPage County Health Department to provide mental health services for the mentally ill probationers for probation and court services for the period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2024 for a contract total amount not to exceed $208,000.
Motion by member Evans, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Evans.
Thank you. For this next one, I would like to move on JPSP 007223, recommendation for a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement between the County of DuPage, the Sheriff of DuPage, and Fortress Plus Solutions LLC for a lease of facility space for a 5-year contract for the period of December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2028 for a contract total not to exceed $1,579,509.60. And I have,
So I have a motion by member Evans, second by member Zay. Member Evans, did you?
yeah, so I move to amend 7F5's attachment of the lease for a Scrivener's error. This error is on page 11, section 24, subsection H, and reads, this lease has been made, executed, and delivered in Cook County, Illinois. The term should read, this lease has been made, executed, and delivered in DuPage County, Illinois.
Do I have a second? Motion by member Evans, second by member Garcia on the amendment. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And we're back to the original member. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then I move to approve JPSP 0072.
We did,
Oh,
we
that's
did,
the
because you
one.
already had a motion and a second.
Okay.
So thank you, member Evans.
Thank you.
Yes, member, we move to technology, member you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on TECO 000723, amendment to county contract 6513-0001 serve issued to Learning Tree International for the procurement of educational training vouchers, which do not expire, for IT to purchase an additional 2 vouchers for use by the records management team for amended contract total of $33,915.
Motion by member you, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member you.
Thank you. I also move on TEP 007523, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Acela Inc. for managed application services to provide support with permitting software for the building and zoning, transportation, stormwater, and public works departments for the period of February 21, 2024 through February 2025 for a contract total amount not to exceed $199,290.
Motion by member Yu, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Yu.
And finally, I make a motion on TEP 007623, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Insight Public Sector, Inc. for the procurement of RAM for the VSAN for information technology for a contract total amount of $62,460.
Motion by member Yu, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Yu. We
Thank
move
you.
on to transportation. Member Ozak.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank our transportation staff for our particularly short agenda of this department today. I move for approval of 233687, amendment to resolution DTR 046122 between the County of DuPage and the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning to increase the county cost by $10,000 for federal Safe Streets for All grant, total county cost $70,000.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Galassi. All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Ozak.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTP 010423, recommendation for the approval of contract to Navistar doing business as Fleet Charge to furnish and deliver international repair and replacement parts as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period December 1st, 2023 through November 30th, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $130,000 per Sourcewell contract.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Ozak.
And finally, I move for approval of DTR 009323, recommendation for approval of DuPage County's annual financial commitment in support of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning for land use and transportation planning for Northeast Illinois. County cost $75,626.72.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Ozak.
Thank you,
We
Madam Chair.
move on to finance resolutions. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to combine items 8A through 8E, which are all additional appropriations.
I have a motion by member Krajewski and a second by member Galassi to combine items 8A through E under finance. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0267-23, additional appropriation for the drug court fund. FIR 0268-23, additional appropriation for the MICAP fund, $27,592. FIR 0269-23, additional appropriation for the neutral site custody exchange fund, $25,260. FIR 0270-23, acceptance appropriation of the comprehensive law enforcement response to drugs grant for $150,000. And FIR 0272-23, acceptance appropriation of low income home energy assistance program grant for $2,948,471.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0273-23. It's acceptance of an extension of the DuPage Animal Friends Foundation Coordinator.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0274-23, acceptance of an extension of the DuPage Animal Friends Unrestricted Grant.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this item, I need to move to discharge committee.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, second by member Galassi to discharge committee. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now I move on FIR 0271-23, recommendation for the interfund loan from the general fund to the animal services fund, $4,500,000.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Desart. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh,
Quick, we're
Yeah.
this is just put in place or not, the loan's not going through, right? It's only if needed. Right, so it's not, okay.
Okay, so we have
Thank
all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move on FIR 275 23, authorization to transfer and appropriate up to, but not to exceed $3 million in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for fiscal year 2023.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, Nick, you've talked about this a lot. So basically, if we don't do this fund, this was in your 2024 budget. You're taking it out of your 2024 budget and putting it in your 23 budget.
Yeah, so the next
Balance
two
of 20.
items, the 3 million for contingency and the 800,000 in stormwater were taken out of the 24 budget to be able to pay for with the 23. We're actually paying for it out of 23 contingency because we have money left over. And so that does relieve pressure. And we've been doing that for several years.
Right, but that doesn't mean those departments are getting an additional.
Absolutely not. We
money.
took
It
the,
means we're basically, this money's being taken out of the 24 budget.
correct. For instance, like the stormwater 800,000 and the next one, that was in the approved budget through stormwater committee. We pulled that out to relieve pressure on the 24 budget.
I mean, relieve pressure, like balance the budget.
Yeah,
Oh,
to balance budget.
that's a nice phrase, Nick. You've been here long enough. So, well, my concern is if we don't have surplus, we don't have anything else. Now you're $3.8 million in the hole in the following year.
The one thing I would like to correct, it's not out of surplus. We're actually funding this out of contingency in a contingency. So the surplus, we are not touching yet because we haven't technically created the surplus yet till the end of the year. So it's out of contingency that is available.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski?
Is move on FIR 276 23, authorization to transfer 800,000 in the budget to the general fund special accounts for fiscal year 2023.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Galassi. Any discussion? Member Krajewski?
Well, I kind of had the same question, a little bit of member Zay. So the 800,000 we're taking out of stormwater's budget for 24, and we're just putting it in 23. So they're getting $800,000 less next year.
They're getting, ultimately, it's a net zero. They get the same amount that the budget, they get 800,000 a little bit earlier.
Right.
So that'll be deposited, but it's the same amount that was approved by the stormwater committee.
Yeah, we're moving it up a year.
We're
I mean,
moving it and paying 800,000 for the stormwater generator now.
Because based on our discussion last week, I'd still like to see some of that surplus go into stormwater. Maybe get their budget back to where it was for 2024. Just because there seems to be an awful lot of stormwater issues throughout this county, not to mention that the buildable properties that are left in this county are difficult ones because of stormwater. So I'd just like to see some additional funding going there. Thank you.
Thank you, member Krajewski. Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now I move on FIR 277 23, correction of a Scrivener's error in resolution FIR 447 22.
I have a motion by member Krajewski, a second by member Galassi. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And last I move on FIR 278 23, which is approval of a grant agreement with the Family Shelter Services of Metropolitan Family Services for the use of ARPA funds in the amount of $50,000.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Cahill. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to informational. Member Krajewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to receive and place on file informational items: A, payment of claims; B, wire transfers; C, grant proposal notifications.
Have a motion by member Krajewski and a second by member Zay to receive and place on file items A, B, and C under informational. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Move on to item 10, old business. Do we have any old business? Member Rutledge?
Thank you, Chair Chaplin. Just information for the committee is the President's Inflation Reduction Act does provide subsidies for US produced solar panels. And many of those companies are currently producing in our country. As far as purchasing from China, we purchase virtually everything from China at this point. But in the last week or two, We finally, manufacturing wise, have surpassed China as far as things that are consumed in the US. And for me, it's a chicken and an egg. Yes, we have to purchase our solar panels from a competitive place right now, but we need to move away from fossil fuels, and that is required in order to, solar is going to have to be embraced. And at what point do we say, okay, you know, we can't do that because it's coming from China? I don't think that's very realistic. And I do believe that the charging infrastructures for vehicles is going to catch up in the next couple of years, and that it'll be more available. So.
Thank you, Member Rutledge. Any other items under old business? Okay, do we have any items under new business? Okay, Member Desart and then Member Evans. Go ahead, Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to request in the next couple of finance meetings to revisit the job share policy. We had a great conversation in human resources at our last committee meeting about a couple of employees who very successfully did a job share because life events happen, elderly parents, children, and then both of those employees actually came back and resumed full-time work after their home obligations changed. I know that it was talked about during the committee meeting that we used to have a job share program and we no longer have it. And I wonder, why was it not successful? Even though these two employees that were discussed at Human Resources, it was highly successful. So I'm wondering if we could look at that again, related to Human Resources. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll put that on a future agenda. Thanks for bringing that up. And it might be even a way to retain and recruit people. Member.
Exactly. Recruiting people would be
Right,
great.
right, to retain and recruit. Absolutely. Yes. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so glad that Member Desart brought that up because that's what I was going to bring up. I think that is a wonderful idea. I think it's a great way to attract and retain good employees. And it would ultimately save the county some money. So.
Sure, I'll be happy to
Love
place
that
it. We'll get that on a future agenda. Thank you. Member Glassy.
This is a redundant comment, but I agree with the other two members that just brought that up. I was going to bring it up. Mary Keating, gave some history, and I think the board voted to get away from the job share program like 7 years ago. And the economy was in such a different place at that time. And I think through COVID, we understand that, there's a lot of flexibility that can be had and a benefit from it. So I echo all of their sentiment.
Thank you very much. Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. As part of that discussion, I'd like to talk about remote work and those who can, that did successfully during COVID, may be allowed again. I think it's a retention thing. It is an attraction opportunity for employees, and I think that should be part of the discussion as well.
Thank you. I'll add that. We'll get that on the next agenda that we have room for it. We'll definitely put those on there. So thank you all. Those are great suggestions. And Member Ozog.
And also don't leave out the idea of hybrid remote work, where we might have a policy in 2 days, in 3 days, something
Sure.
like that. So
I'll
make
add,
sure that's considered as well.
Okay, I'm adding
you.
that to the list. Those are great suggestions, and yeah, as soon as we can fit them in one of our agendas, we'll definitely do that. So any other items under old or new business? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Member Garcia, second by Member Yu, all in favor? Opposed?